Ladies and gentlemen, we have a problem. In the last 3 months, 2,000 people have been laid off. We hear companies talking about restructuring once again. Several companies, actually, perhaps by December, more than 5,000 people would have lost their job. In a country that unemployment is at an all-time low, and people don't have opportunities, and we're restructuring, and we're losing jobs. What's going to happen? We have a problem. How do we address this problem? Where do I start with this? Do I start with the politicians, or do I start with Prof here, the teachers?
I'm not a politician.
Yes.
The politicians.
I mean, as I said, in my view, if the system is holistic, led by the political class, which are the leaders, deciding on what we need for the country, then things should, if managed well, fall into place. Now, if you have people who are not employed, there are two things that are happening. One, there's no production. So that labor is being wasted and that talent is being wasted. Two, there is poverty that is going on. So what you really need is to create investments that will employ people to produce.
Who are we?
Now we are in like this one, the government will say, like you said, we are going to create 5,000 jobs.
We are going to create.
We are going to create,
yes.
And that is a policy. If it is a party, if whoever is now at the time leading, then that must go down to the economists, the technical people, and create that so that the jobs are available. So when you have many people who are not employed, you must go back and say your system, including education system. Now, when now they are now being laid off, and I don't think they're being laid off because the people who are laying them off want.
No.
But the people who are laying them off are finding we can't afford to pay them. We don't even have the money to pay them. Now, when that is your big problem, then you are out looking at the symptom and not the root cause. So we really must get a balance where people are on job and producing. Now, if we say we must keep them because they need the money, then you are now creating a social protection system. You could as well go and pick money from Treasury
and just give them
pay
to people.
for the people who are job. And in some countries it's done. There's unemployment benefits. So I think we need to look at the welfare of the people, but a bigger picture is, what are we not doing that we are even borrowing so much? And there is wealth in this country, and that wealth is not being turned into productivity that will employ the people.
Okay.
Allow me to make a very obvious observation that we have an army in this country of unemployed young men and women. That a good number of these young men and women have what Americans would want to call college education. That our universities today have hundreds of thousands of students as we speak today. Conservative figures put it about 600,000 in the country today. So we continue to produce young men and women, and yet we do not have jobs for them. Now, two things will follow this, and they are already happening. Number one, we are compromising on our security. I was at home over the village. I had traveled to go and say Pole to Bonnie Halwale and help him send off his wife. So I took time. And I'm telling you, this picture in the village is bad. While I was there, the police were arresting the so-called 42 brothers. The Mozambique Rincanet, whatever that English word is, sometimes a problem. These are boys who are prepared to do anything
to earn a living.
They will cut you for no good reason. That crackdown is going on in my village, my area. So security is going to be compromised badly with all these people jobless. And if you think they will watch you eat and keep quiet and they die from hunger, then you are the most stupid person. In other countries, what they do, in order for you to enjoy what you have, you make sure the poorest of the poor at least do not die from cold, and there are social protection measures to do that. They at least can have uji na maharage, at least madondo na ugali. You can eat your 5-course meal, but they should just have survival. If we think in this country that we shall be eating from Muthaiga, Lavington, when the rest of the people in the slums are dying, we are stupid because it will not happen.
They'll come for them.
The second thing, and I'm getting back to the point that I talked about Sonko, we are creating votes for Sonko. And I'm very serious about it. This is not a joke. It's not a pastime I'm engaged in. We are creating votes for somebody other than the conventional leaders you know. It has happened. It has happened even in America. But why do we have this? Why do we have unemployment? The reasons are obvious. For example, do you know the impact of second-hand clothes on employment in this country? Yet when we want to join our East African brothers to increase tariffs, or even like Rwanda want to ban second-hand clothes, that includes even underwear for our women, socks, very unhygienic. Americans say, try and you see. And we cow down. And we kill employment because of second-hand clothes. We kill employment because of dumping. We have allowed countries like China to bring just about any rubbish into this country. How would you have jobs? How would you have shoes manufactured in this country when plastic shoes from China are all over? So look, public works. You give 50 billion to a Chinese company to construct a road. Inbuilt in that contract, you don't even have technology transfer so that our engineers are able to do that road 10 years later. But more worrying is you will allow the Japanese doing Gong Road to bring foreigners to clean the road, to sweep, to do manual work. I live there, I see every morning people from, I think, Sri Lanka, people from Lebanon, Chinese, they were doing a road in my home. You know, you allow foreigners to do manual work when you are constructing roads. Inbuilt in any serious contract worth billions. We should do what the Americans did to get out of the Great Depression. They went into public works, and these public works generated jobs, which put dollars and shillings in the pockets of Americans to get out of the depression. So when you have a 50 billion project, and where that road is passing, it leaves no impact. It doesn't change the economy of that place. The young people in that place are not even employed, and where the few of them who are employed are given 200-300 shillings per day. And you see foreigners doing manual driving. You go to Congo now, you'll see foreigners, non-Kenyans, driving those small little things, cleaning the road. What are we talking about? Why would we then be surprised today that our children do not have jobs? We shouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. Senator.
I think the people who have been observing, for some time, that the people who have power have no knowledge. And those who have knowledge have no power. Yet knowledge is power. The people of the valleys know what needs to be done. But the people of the mountain are the ones at advantage. These two must meet and talk. It is very simple. It is the budget, period. Like the way Clinton said, it is the economy is stupid.
Yes.
It's a fiscal. And how we are managing it. Because the way government spends and uses its money has a trigger to the economy. And so the way we are doing tax administration, the way we are doing our revenue raising measures, what is the role of government? The role of government is two things: to reduce inflation, this is economics 101, to reduce inflation and to create job employment. But what are we seeing? We are seeing a government that is overspending, crowding out the local investors in terms of the money available for investing, and then after overspending, borrowing more, and using the same tax base to pay the debts, as we have said earlier on. And then the innovations that would actually spur this economy are not being given very good focus. And let me give you several examples. Countries are never developed because of white-collar jobs. Kiambu Institute of Technology is supposed to get a $2 billion grant from Germany to help our people learn how to do these technical innovations. But then they cannot invest because the land has already been expropriated by the who's and who of Kiambu County. So that money is is going to go away. Look at the CUT, the Dankemada University of Science and Technology. I was there. They have invented a speed governor. But are they going to market? The Germans again want to create German East African, University of Technology, but that is not facilitated. Look at in Laikipia, Governor Mureithi. There is somebody who has invented a tuk-tuk, but for this young man to actually make that thing go on the road, he needs 59 approvals from our institutions. Look at Gilu. Gilu has been able to manufacture for us things that need to be manufactured here. household consumables, and a very basic one, a handkerchief. In fact, I have one in my pocket from Kikotech. But she is being fought left, right, and center because of being a woman and because of being innovative. This is how we are sabotaging ourselves, because the future of our country does not lie in government creating jobs within public service administration in terms of creating authorities and what have you. Earlier on, and it's something I forgot to say, in America, all the states, before you procure a new debt in a given state, say South Carolina or whatever, you have to have a public plebiscite. You have to have a referendum for people to approve. Some of these measures are the ones that we need to do. In short, what I'm trying to say, Ken Mijungu, is that the problem starts and ends with the government. Okay. Is how much money, what is the fiscal discipline, what is the tax administration, how is government expending. But to expect that we are going to get any benefit from the government as this right now is like to expect the Trump administration to create more employment for Americans. Why? Because if you look at the way Americans stopped manufacturing and they got into these soft financial issues around, money transfer, 60,000 factories went to China. What is our case in Kenya? We are now procuring debt from the Chinese through their Belt and Road Initiative. And I think I like what Dr. Nyikal said. But do you know, for example, if a Chinese businessman comes here and makes supernormal profits, he is obligated by his government in China, and I was there for 2 weeks in the China Academy of Sciences, so I'm speaking something that I know. They are given a certain county to go and help to fight poverty in that county. That is to mean, while we are left with the debt here to service, this direct transfer of wealth
to the other side.
Through the other side. You get the point? And we must have a school of thought that looks at what are these partnerships we are getting into. Who is this advising government? That the moment you go after people who are not paying taxes and you drive them out of town because you want more money to spend in nebulous projects, that's how you're going to build the economy.
Okay. Hey. Senator Okongo.
Yes.
I don't know why. Kitu amevuta leo asubuhi.
I don't know why Manyora keeps referring to Sonko and we have a president to the next one.
Amen to that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think, Ken, in terms of job creation, the government first has an obligation to create an enabling environment where businesses can thrive. And you don't need to go very far for examples. You see, our friend here, Kagame, I think, is it last week?
Yes.
He launched a mobile phone.
He launched a motorbike. And he's sending a satellite in space. In 1 week.
And I'm told, I've not been to Rwanda for the last 7 years or so. I'm told he's building an airport that may dwarf our own Jomo Kenyatta International Airport. He's made corruption to be a very painful thing in Rwanda. I'm told if a cabinet secretary is suspected of being involved in corruption, the first punishment will be you not step 100 meters near the environment called State House. And people are disciplined in Rwanda. That's why things are moving. Now, in this part of the world, this country of ours, this beautiful country called Kenya, we come up with wonderful ideas. But instead of coming up with, industries that will create employment for our youths, we end up eating all the money. If you go to America, there is a president in, I think, around 1942, it was Roosevelt, who came up with the Tennessee Valley Authority. And then if you follow, he was actually opposed, he was even taken to the US Supreme Court, stopped from coming up with the Tennessee Valley Authority, but he pushed it through. The case was in the Supreme Court for, I think, 3 years, eventually was allowed to go ahead with that plan. And he had a fantastic idea. He wanted the Tennessee Valley Authority to produce the cheapest power in the US so that it can encourage new industries, manufacturers to set up business in Tennessee. And if you go to Tennessee Valley today, that authority repaid its debt in full. It is now a good ground for creating employment. What you call, hotel business, recreation industry, it's thriving in Tennessee Valley. In the whole of United States of America, cheap power comes from Tennessee Valley Authority. We came in Kenya, and I think somebody wanted to create some of to reproduce something similar to Tennessee Valley. But we came up with the Kerio Valley Authority. What happened? We put in money, we ate the money. How will you create jobs for our youth if the money that is supposed to create new industry ends up in our pockets? Look at Kimwarer and Aror. Fantastic ideas. We get the money, we put the money in our pockets. Ken, unless we slay this dragon called corruption, our youths will continue remaining unemployed, which is a very sad thing.
And looking for contracts.
And then look at how do we support our other sectors. Look at agriculture. If you ask the Mamamboga at Gekomba, they will tell you that they prefer getting onions from where? Tanzania. Why? In Tanzania, the government gives subsidy to fertilizer so that the farmer can have some good return from farming. In this country, we have refused to give incentives to our farmers.
We'll eat the fertilizer money.
Look, yeah. In fact, as somebody has said, when you think of fertilizer, you are looking at an opportunity, you as a leader, to make money. You want your company to be the one importing that fertilizer, then sell it to the government at exorbitant prices.
Yes.
Look at what's happening in the tea sector. How much do we get from foreign earning from the tea sector? It's one of the highest earning. Yet, as a government, we cannot provide subsidy for fertilizer for tea farmers. We want them to buy that fertilizer at exorbitant prices, then their returns are almost nil. When we want to build factories, the government does not step in to assist farmers. If you go to Nyamira, there is a factory called Matunwa, a tea factory coming up. Farmers are being taxed. You deduct money from the poor farmers to build that factory. Yet, the government can see the benefits that are going to accrue. So what am I saying? Our policies as a country does not create an environment where we'll be able to have new industries that will create jobs for our people. Unless the government changes its thinking, the future is doomed.
Okay, I think
I'm
sure time is running out. But Ken, I'm thinking about the position of and place of technology and innovations in this country, where most countries are actually headed and going. And I think most of the jobs in other countries now are being created around technology and innovations. Here, we are now moving from zero, from what we had to zero. We haven't even embraced or appreciated the place of technology. And when you look at access to funding and the cost of the funding, where we are supposed to be thinking about even small cottage industries, small technological farms, the youth, what access do they have to money? And I'm thinking of between 20 and 100 employees in small companies, and these small companies actually can run into millions of money in terms of production, in terms of manufacturing. But when in this country we are thinking about manufacturing, we are thinking about huge investors coming from outside the country. I would be imagining that we should start with what is affordable here by the ordinary graduate, the ordinary Kenyan, even the person that Manyora is referring to, who is actually innovating, a tuk-tuk or a bicycle. And therefore, I think that our policies are not user-friendly. They are not directed to the ordinary Kenyan. And they are kind of misplaced. I wonder sometimes how we develop some of these policies. And then when you talk about cost of shilling, of borrowing at 15 to 18% still, when other countries are lending at 3%, then obviously it is not affordable. The power alone in your own home, it's not affordable. So when you think of manufacturing, even small businesses like even a cyber cafe, you find that you can't paper for the last 2 weeks, the last 1 month, tea is now finished. How many people will you actually, because even when you are talking about these jobs, let's not just think about formal companies. You know, there are so many people employed by tea farmers to actually pluck tea, and then a kilo of tea is about 500 shillings. You know, so you'll find that the young men and women earn between 400 and 600 per day. So all this effect will then be laying off people jobs. Why would today a country like Kenya be talking about an auction for tea in Mombasa? You know,
Why Mombasa?
Where in
And
Mombasa?
tea is not planted in Mombasa.
Is it planted
Just
in
near the
Mombasa?
export zone.
What
It's
is
not
it
planted.
about Mombasa? You know, why are we bringing sugar and not thinking from outside the country and not thinking that there will be, you know, and you know, we encourage farmers to grow sugar. We encourage farmers as a country. We invested in tea. We invested in coffee. In our region, you're now done with tea. We have already cleared with coffee. There is no money coming from coffee, no money coming from tea. Then we will have actually.
Now Rwanda is even doing tea better than us.
You know, we went,
Rwanda.
as Parliament, we went to Russia
There's something happening here.
on a benchmarking tour
Yes.
on tea and marketing of tea. And we found that a huge country like Russia, that actually, because of the weather, takes tea, you know, it's a
the
top
time.
drink.
Okay.
And
Apart from
the
whiskey.
Kenyan tea is only
Vodka,
is
sorry.
only vodka is another story, but tea, because we don't do vodka here, but tea which we actually do, you know, here is used only for blending.
Okay.
And when you look at the market, it's unexploited.
Okay.
And now where the tea farmer is headed, then you just wonder.
We have only 4 minutes on the
I want
clock,
to say this.
so I'll give each of you an
I want to
opportunity to
take
finish
half a
what I
minute
said.
to say this.
Yes, half a minute.
A foreigner watching this show and listening to us speak here, they will think there's something wrong with this country. I think they will conclude so. They
But
won't
there
even
is
think.
something wrong.
Because this is a member of parliament. This is a member of parliament, member of parliament, member of parliament. And we are useless people. A teacher is what? I have said this before in terms of influence.
We are not useless.
I'm saying in
No,
terms
him,
of
he's saying the
influence.
teachers.
To influence public policy
Yes.
directly, you need to be in political leadership. And I've said here before, we do it from the background. We are pathologists, but you are the doctors with the patient. We say this, and I've said this before. If we were counting who leads this country, who is going to determine what Kenya will look like 200 years, 100 years from now? If we count 1, 2, 3, they are
welfare as a means of maintaining political power. That is exactly the situation. So we are morticians and glorify social welfare dispensers. But in the same spirit, I just want to give my heartfelt solidarity message to Samuel Wainaina Mwangi, whose house was burnt there in Kio Githurai. And we were with them yesterday. And also to say I really enjoyed being with PCA Unity Church in Kimbo, because we must always be with the people.
Okay. Senator Okongo.
Yeah, I think I'll conclude with what's happening in our agricultural sector. I was in Nyamira, I spent time in Nyamira from Thursday all through to Sunday. And just to respond to Manyora, just last week, the Senate passed a resolution through its ad hoc committee on tea, where we called upon the president to form a commission of inquiry to look into mismanagement within the tea sector and come up with solutions to the problems that are ailing the tea sector. My appeal this morning to the president is that he should take a time, look at that recommendation from Senate, and look for a solution. There is a problem. We should be worried when you hear threats by farmers that they want to uproot their tea. That should worry everybody in this country. Even the security sector should be worried, because tea is the mainstay of our economy in terms of foreign exchange.
All right.
So, Manyora, we are doing something.
Okay.
Yes.
I hope he looks at it.
Yes.
I want to say that no government, I want to say that, and this is the point for me, that no government is free from mischief. No government is free of bad manners and executive excesses. And therefore, the relationship between the government and the opposition is very cozy, it's unholy alliance and must stop. You know, it's almost adulterous. So when then adulterous and disastrous. and finally, the relationship between government and parliament is unacceptable. It's also very friendly, and I think the oversight role is being compromised in that process. And parliament must stop and do its work as expected under the constitution.
My closing.
Great. You had closed.
I did.
You got a last word.
By the way, you're not useless, Professor.
No, I didn't say I'm useless or a professor. What I said, the manner in which we influence public policy is not direct.
Okay.
You people have the power given by the people of this country to force even the president to do certain things. I don't have.
Okay.
It's in that regard. But I wanted to say, Pole, to my people in Nandi who were evicted from some small piece of land and the suffering that went with it. And I want to challenge, I want to challenge your leaders. I want to challenge your leaders. I want to challenge your leaders. Tribal animosity and clashes, because this has happened on several occasions.
Yes.
The people on the ground who manage intelligence should not have allowed this kind of thing to happen.
Great.
Because as a country, we want to live in peace.
Well said.
Yes.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the conversation today. I hope people are listening. And the good thing Professor said is all of you are in a position to make a change for this country. I'll see you next week. Thank you very much for coming, Alice. Thanks, Senators. Thanks, Senator, Prof. and Dr. for coming.